朋友们，大家好，欢迎收看《洋厨房》，我是刘烨，世界美味与你共尝。有那么一道菜呢，零差评、超快手、易操作，做完呢还总能惊艳四座，它就是烤出来的美食。不要小瞧了烤箱哦，一道用心又简单的烘烤美食，更是集营养、美味还有颜值于一身哦。
Welcome to Donal's Meals in Minutes, a kitchen survival guide to modern life.
It's packed full of quick cooking meals, time-saving techniques and tips and tricks to help you make the most of your time in the kitchen.
Whether it's meal prep, using leftovers, one-pot wonders or cheat ingredients, there's something for everyone. These no-nonsense recipes will help you redefine how you cook. And for the health-conscious, we've had each dish tested for its nutritional content. We'll also be showcasing some of Ireland's most interesting modern chefs that know how to make tasty, no-nonsense food. To spice things up a bit, I'm going to try and cook a meal in 5 minutes. Modern life calls for a modern way of cooking, so sit back, tune in those taste buds and enjoy. Donal's Meals in Minutes.
Let's talk oven meals. Now, the great thing about an oven meal is that with the minimal amount of prep, the oven does all the hard work for you.
The humble oven. Every kitchen has one, and it's perfect for all kinds of dishes, if you know what you're doing. We're kicking things off with a no-nonsense carrot and cumin pilaf rice, followed swiftly by a range of simple but sophisticated oven meals. And to wrap things up, I'll be attempting another 5-minute challenge.
This is looking good. I feel we're coming into the home stretch, guys.
So don't go off half-baked. Stick around for Donal's Meals in Minutes.
Now, this next rice dish is a perfect example of an oven meal that delivers on serious flavour without too much work.
Get some rapeseed oil into a casserole dish on a medium heat. Throw in some chopped onions, carrots, and fry until tender. Intensify the flavour with some turmeric, cumin, and curry powder. Then coat the veg with the spices and then add the rice, chickpeas, and vegetable stock. Bring it to a simmer while stirring and then cover. Pop in a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 35 minutes. Serve it straight away to the table with fresh parsley, lemon wedges, and an extra touch of that lemon juice.
Oven meals require some key kitchen equipment, and I would recommend that you get your hands on some decent baking trays like these. They will last you a lifetime, and best of all, they'll give you great results in the kitchen. Now, this little trick is a way of slicing up a whole heap of cherry tomatoes in one go. You might have seen it on the internet, but it is one of those ones that works extremely well. So take 2 saucers and place your tomatoes in the lip of them. You're going to press down very gently with the other one, make sure they're nice and tight, and then using a very sharp knife, just gently slice across, using the saucer as a guide to slice across your tomatoes. This could have taken me about 10 minutes. I don't know, give or take. But with one little fell swoop of a knife, we have cherry tomatoes that are halved and ready to go. It's a great little tip that actually works extremely well. As you can see, I've got my cherry tomatoes all good to go. We're going to add, alongside these cherry tomatoes, a bit of substance and a bit of extra veg action from some courgettes and some aubergine.
Slice the courgette and aubergine into chunks and then get them straight into the baking tray. Add a good glug of balsamic vinegar and about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Sprinkle over the chili flakes for a spicy kick and then season generously with sea salt and black pepper.
The last 2 ingredients are some red onion and some garlic. Now, with your red onion, keep those roots intact. This is important because if you take too much of that root off, these will just fall apart in the dish. So, nice little slice of that. When you are keeping the root intact, you can trim off just any of those hairy bits. You don't want them throughout your dish. But quarters, eighths, whatever you can get with your red onion. And with the garlic, all you're going to do is take off the top and essentially just expose any of those cloves. Now, the real beauty of roasting garlic is just how soft and tender those cloves become. And in a dish like this, when you push it out and you press it down with tomatoes, you just create the most spectacular sauce. So nuzzle that in there. We're going to get the hands in, just mix it all, massage it in, make sure everything's nicely coated. This is what we're after. Baking tray filled with great ingredients that are going to roast off in the oven. Now, I'm using a high-sided roasting tin, one that's going to keep in a little bit of moisture. If you did this on a flat roasting tray, they would all kind of dry out and you wouldn't have space to add in your pasta afterwards. This now goes into the oven, 40 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. My veggies have just about had enough time in the oven, and now, 15 minutes out from the end of their cooking time, it's time to get on the pasta. So I have a pot of boiling salted water. Into this goes some penne. Now, you can use any pasta you like here, but penne really gets wrapped around that roast tomato sauce. I urge you, if you've never made a pasta sauce before, this is the one to try. The smell alone in your kitchen is what will sell it to you. And the important thing to remember is, while we do have nice roast veggies, we still have a quite hot roast garlic, and in the interior of this, inside that skin, is this beautiful sweet mush, and that's going to help form this pasta sauce. Before I mush it, I need to drain off my pasta, which is just about done at this point. You can hold back a little bit of that pasta water with some of the pasta, and then come back to your mushing of that garlic. You want to squeeze out that garlic. Look how gorgeous it comes out. So it's a bit of a messy job, and it's one that is quite hot on the fingers, but once you get all this out, you're essentially going to use this as your base flavour through this pasta sauce. So get rid of any of that excess skin. You don't want that in there. It's just papery and doesn't really add anything. Grab up your fork and just get to work mushing this down. So get that straight in with all those other veggies. And at this point, you just want to take it up onto the tray, get your fork in there, and mush it to a point where you can still see what the vegetables look like, but the tomatoes can create a sauce with a little bit of that pasta water in there. Okay, this is pretty much at the point I want it to be. I kind of like the idea that the courgettes are still holding their shape, and it's time to grab up the pasta. We have a little bit with the water in it, and I'm just going to put that straight in on top, and the water that we've reserved in that pan is going to be what brings the sauce together. Take the rest of the drained pasta, get that in there as well.
For a final touch, tear in some basil, a good grating of Parmesan cheese, and tumble it all together.
That is pasta perfection. 5 minutes prep time, 40 minutes in the oven. The oven does all the work, and that is a proper pasta dish. Oven meals can be so much more than just a roast chicken, and there's so many ways to enhance the flavour, especially with the clever use of some spices.
Scatter the quartered red onion onto a lined baking tray. Place the chicken thighs on top and drizzle over a few tablespoons of rapeseed oil. Season with salt and pepper and follow it up with a generous sprinkle of ras el hanout. Pop it into the oven for 35 minutes. When it's crispy and almost cooked through, take it out and crumble over the feta with some chili flakes and dried oregano. A quick drizzle of olive oil and bake it for another 10 minutes. Just enough time to make a quick salad. Squeeze the juice of half a lemon over some shaved fennel. A quick dash of olive oil and then sprinkle over some toasted fennel seeds. Now tear in some coriander and mint and then toss and serve.
Whether it's chicken or beef, a classic roast dinner has always been a tradition in my family. It's simple, it's delicious, and this next recipe is a little twist on the classic chicken dinner.
We're going to kick things off by spatchcocking the chicken. Run a sharp knife down either side of the backbone and remove. Flip the chicken and use the heel of your hand to break the breastbone. You want to get it as flat as possible to reduce the cooking time. Place the chicken aside, discard the backbone, and make sure to wash your hands.
The next thing we need to do is create this marinade. It is a little bit different, but it uses store-cupboard ingredients. The only fresh ingredients you're going to need are some turmeric and some ginger. Now, ginger you can get in most supermarkets, but if you can find fresh turmeric, it will make a difference to this marinade. So with both of these, you're going to take about a knob off both. We're going to grab up a grater, and with the skin still on, just grate that straight in here. There is an incredible colour you get from the turmeric. And not only is it the colour we're getting here, we're also getting this sort of earthy sweetness. With both these ingredients, it is important to grate it up because when you're making a marinade like this, you want a smooth paste that's really going to permeate the skin. Tap off any of that excess. We're also going to go in there with 3 garlic cloves. Sounds like a lot, and it is, but you're looking for booming flavour here. That's the fresh ingredients out of the way. And now we need to talk spices. This is where your store cupboard pantry essentials come into play. Looks like a lot of ingredients, especially on a recipe list, but when you break it down, these are all things you're guaranteed to have in your press if you have a good store cupboard. Now, we're going to start off with a teaspoon of ground cumin, teaspoon of coriander, a teaspoon of cinnamon. We've got a little bit of chili flakes that are going to add our spice. To echo that spice, we've got a hit of some cayenne pepper. You only need a tiny bit of that. And then to give it this sort of smoky roundedness, we're going to add in some smoked paprika. Give that all a good mix through. And then I'm going in there with some toasted sesame seeds. Bring that together with a drop of some rapeseed oil or sunflower oil. Use that oil just to bring this together. And essentially, now that this is together, it's time to get in there with the chicken and get things squidgy. All the flavour from the turmeric works its way into that chicken. And if you have the time to marinate it, leave it overnight because it will permeate into the flesh and through the skin. Once it is completely coated, grab it up and we're going to stick it straight into a roasting tin, making sure to get all those extra little bits spread across the top of the skin. Squidge it under the breast skin as well if you can. Now, the last thing I do need to do, and I nearly forgot, is some onions. I like to roast off onions, especially if I'm going to go to the trouble of roasting up my chicken. I prefer to make use of that roasting tin by adding in things like onions and any veggies that might roast up quite well. So I've got some onions with the root in, and I'm just going to quarter them up and just nestle them in alongside the chicken. Make sure that they're nicely coated in a little bit of that marinade. This is ready for the oven, 200 degrees Celsius for about 50 minutes until the chicken is cooked. First things first, wash the hands. To go alongside this non-traditional roast, we are not going to cook up potatoes. Instead, we are going for a slightly healthier pearl barley salad. So we're going to cook off the pearl barley. It takes about 50 minutes, so this is something that you could prepare in advance. It actually keeps extremely well. This goes into a pot of boiling water, and I'm going to add a generous pinch of salt in there. Give it a quick stir just to make sure the grains are loose in the bottom of the pan. And now, stick the lid on. This is going to cook away. But while it's cooking out, I'm going to create the salad ingredients that go in alongside it. And for that, we're going to add the freshness of some orange segments. Now, this is a great kitchen technique. It's one that makes the best of oranges. And we're just going to segment them up. So take the bottom and the top off them. And you do want to make a nice flat surface on the bottom of your orange so that you can use a sharp knife just to run around the edge of the orange, taking off as much skin as possible without losing too much of the flesh. And if you get any little white bits left while you segment up your orange, you can just use the sharp knife just to take away any of that excess. Now, while you segment up your orange, the greatest tip I can give you is to do it over a bowl. As you cut into the orange, all that juice is going to come and flow through your hands. And rather than it ending up on a chopping board, it's all going to be captured by that bowl. Once you take out that last segment, there's quite a lot of juice left in there. So make sure you squeeze out as much as you possibly can. You're really getting the most out of the orange by doing this. Last little squeeze of that orange juice. And now I'm actually going to take these segments out into a little bowl. And we're going to use that orange juice in the bottom of the bowl to create our dressing with a squeeze of lemon and some olive oil. Just a tablespoon or so of olive oil. A good pinch of black pepper and sea salt. And for contrasting flavors to the sweetness of the orange, I have some feta cheese and then that sort of astringent sweet taste that you get from red onions. Slice up the onion, nice thin little slivers here. You don't want big chunks of onion. Give that dressing a good whisk up. And at this point, it's also really important that you taste it. You're looking for a little bit of an acidic hit. And right now, it actually needs a little squeeze of lemon juice. Give it a last whisk. This is good to go. Pearl barley needs to be drained and rinsed at this point. Now, this method of draining and rinsing the pearl barley is a handy one to have. You want to stop that cooking straight away. So rinse it under cold water. Make sure you get rid of any of that excess water. Give it a good squeeze and actually you can press it down. You don't want any excess water in your salad. It'll just dilute the dressing. Now, we've got pearl barley, we've got orange, we've got onion, and we've got feta. So all of this gets combined. Get your pearl barley straight into that dressing. We're going to add in those orange segments. We're going to crumble the feta, and that spiky, salty hit you get from feta is going to work really well against the sweetness of the orange in there, and then that hit of red onions throughout. So get that all in there, and then just using your hands, give it a light and very gentle toss-up.
When the chicken is ready, take it out of the oven and it should be golden and crispy. Grab a plate, add a good dollop of hummus, a generous amount of the salad, and then some of that wonderful chicken.
And just serve that straight on top of this dish. Give it a little garnish of some coriander and a few mint sprigs. Nearly forgot, we have all those gorgeous caramelized roast red onions. And when you see a plate of food like that, it might not be your traditional roast, but it is a roast that is guaranteed to earn you compliments around the table. If you've got leftover chicken, this is the recipe for you. We are going to do this in 5 minutes, start to finish, no stopping. I have 5 minutes on the clock. We're going to click start now. We are already cooking, so I got to crack on. First things first, get your pan on nice and hot. You want heat in this pan. We're going to use this to toast up some croutons and really reheat that chicken. I have some leftover sourdough bread, which I'm just going to slice up into rough croutons. You don't have to be too particular about this. And in fact, to be honest, if you don't want to use the knife here, you could just tear it. So it's totally up to you. And really, with stale bread and leftover chicken, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a really exciting meal at all. But I promise you, it's going to come together. So just rattle through these, and we're going to add a generous amount of oil into the pan. You do need to kind of add that extra bit of oil because that bread is essentially quite dry, so be generous with that. Good few tablespoons of olive oil going in there. All that bread goes straight into the pan alongside that chicken, which gets added here. Now, the leftover chicken here, we're just going to warm it through, essentially. It might catch a little bit on the bottom, and I'm kind of okay with that because it's just going to add a bit more texture. We are 1 minute down. I'm going to add a tiny touch of sumac to the pan. This is a great sort of floral spice. It has this sort of lemony taste, and it's a wonderful one to add in here. A little bit of fennel seed in there as well. Give this all a good shake, and make sure you get a good stir on this. You're looking for nice golden croutons and your chicken to be warmed through and to take on the flavour of that spice. Essentially, this is a Middle Eastern-inspired bread salad. Might not sound too exciting, but it looks gorgeous when you bring it together. We need to talk about the dressing. Now, one of my favourite little jar ingredients is one of these gorgeous roasted peppers. They are absolutely spectacular. They're sweet, they're smoky, they add great flavour to a dish like this. But unusually, I'm going to add this into our dressing, which is going to give really, really great flavour. We're going to add to that about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar here, another store-cupboard ingredient that adds lovely acidity. I'm going to oomph up the acidity in this dish by adding a tiny touch of lemon juice with 3 minutes left to go. I'm feeling the pressure. We better check on my pan and make sure it's looking good while I'm going here. You do want to keep your eye on this because, like any time, bread will burn on you. So you just have to keep an eye on this and make sure it goes golden and gorgeous. Give it a bit of a toss and it'll look good. Okay, so olive oil. 3 tablespoons. We've got 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. You can hit this alongside the flavors that we've used before, so a little bit of cumin seed. Sorry, I said fennel seed, it's cumin seed. Sumac goes in here as well. And we've also got 1 clove of garlic. This is what happens when you're doing quick cooking. You forget what you're saying at all. So give this a good blitz up. This is your dressing that you can make double the quantity of this. You can make triple the quantity of this. It will keep in the fridge beautifully for you. Smells fantastic. Look at that colour. Check it out. That's where it's at. Give this bread a good toss. We're nearly there with it. And now we need to basically bring together the salad ingredients. I've got 2 minutes left. We've got the bowl up. We're going to get in there with our cucumber. You want big, chunky veg here. Take up your cucumber, slice it in half, slice it in half again, and basically you are after nice, chunky pieces of cucumber. Now, I am rushing a little bit, but in the kitchen, do make sure you take your time with things and that you don't chop off any fingers. Cucumber goes in. The beautiful red tomatoes go in, and I'm actually going to leave most of these whole. I'm only going to slice up 1 or 2 of these. Probably would have sliced them all up if this wasn't a 5-minute challenge, but you know what? You got to keep going. So, red tomatoes, beautiful and sweet in here, and this is definitely going to shave a bit of time off my my challenge here, but we'll keep going. Cherry tomatoes smell gorgeous. The cucumber smells gorgeous. All these great flavours are going to be spectacular together. I actually think at this point our bread is looking good. You've got all those spices in here. Have a look at that. It looks fantastic. It's all of a sudden made some very simple looking bread and chicken look a bit exciting. Right, we've got red onion. Slice up your red onion. You only want wafer thin slices of your red onion here, so just very, very thin slices. You want that kind of hum of onion flavour, which is going to be good. So, get that in there. We've got 1 minute left to go. I'm feeling the pressure. I'm going to slice up the rest of that red pepper. It's a slippery little thing. So just slice that up nice and thinly. This is looking good. I feel we're coming into the home stretch, guys. So hold this together. We've got all that dressing which goes in here as well. Hopefully not with any excess. This is going to come together quite nicely. Herbs. We've got a little bit of flat leaf parsley. Rip that in. I want all the leaves, and I want all the leaves of this coriander as well. This is fantastic. So olives. Last little touch of olives. We're going in there with our chicken and our bread. I've got 22 seconds to go. Oh my goodness. Okay, last little thing. That's pretty much it. I'm just going to give it a last drizzle of lemon juice, and we're going to hit it with a tiny touch of salt and pepper. Oh my God. 12 seconds. Okay. Get your hands in there and give it all a good toss. Look at those fresh flavours. Okay, 5 seconds to go. There we go, and straight into the bowl, just in time. My timer has gone off, and that is a gorgeous leftover chicken and bread salad. Smells spectacular.
To start off, pour the milk into a shallow casserole dish. Then in with the pasta and get it onto a nice medium heat. Season well with sea salt and black pepper and let it come to the boil. When it does, reduce the heat and let it simmer for about 10 minutes, stirring every now and again. Next up, the cauliflower. Let it cook for 5 minutes with the pasta until it's tender. And then add in the butter, cheese and mustard. Give it a good mix through. Put the dish under a preheated grill and let it bubble away until it's golden brown. Serve it straight to the table and let your gang tuck in. Get things started with some olive oil in a casserole dish on a medium to high heat. Drop in the chopped celery, red pepper, onion and carrot. Season and give it a good stir. Let it fry for about 10 minutes so the veg can soften. Then it's time for the minced turkey. Break up all the pieces and give it a good cook until it starts to brown. Add the cumin, chili powder, ground coriander and cinnamon, and then give it all a good stir through. Let it cook for a few minutes and then get in there with the chopped tomatoes and chipotle paste. Stir until the sauces are mixed through and coat all the veg and turkey. Season and cook uncovered on a low heat for about 2 hours. When it's almost there, add the kidney beans. Give it a last blast to warm the beans through and then serve it on a bed of brown rice with tortilla chips and sour cream. And this, my friends, is the closest you're gonna get to a hug in a bowl.
好了，时间过得真快，今天呢，我们节目呢就要和大家说再见了。感谢您的收看，下周同一时间不见不散。